the better the relationship. I mean, we don't have to be best friends by any means, but the better the relationship and the more open and curious, the better the work is.
Welcome once again to Relationships at Work, your leadership guide to building workplace connections and avoiding blind spots. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher, a communications and leadership nerd with a couple of decades of experience in both those areas and a whole heap of curiosity on how we can make the workplace a better place. If you're a leader trying to understand and improve your impact on work culture and the employee experience, I'm happy to say you're in the right place. Thank you once again for joining us at this place, the Relationships at Work podcast. Supporting this podcast reinforces our curiosity, your curiosity, hell, my curiosity, on how to improve as a leader and understand that at the heart of great leadership is our relationships, the quality of them, the intention of them, the humanity of them. It's the DNA of great work cultures and the foundation of great leaders. So how do we create, nurture, reinforce, and grow those work relationships? Because it's not intuitive for everyone. It doesn't come so naturally. We need ideas. We need tools, tricks, tips that will help us with those connections. It's not just about mindset, it's about actions and what those actions may or may not look like. One way, myself personally, that I like to keep connected with my work relationships is a little something I do every year on New Year's Day. I text everyone in my phone that I work with. I just text them a Happy New Year. Sometimes it's up to 50 people that I spend sitting there repeatedly going over and over again, but it means so much. It's meaningful. It's personal. And nothing more is texted than a Happy New Year to you and your family. Look forward to working with you in the coming year. That's it. That's all. No agenda, no hidden message, no motives. Just I thought of you on this day. I'm kind of looking forward to the days, weeks, months ahead in engaging with you. And I wish you nothing but the best. Relationship ignited and reinforced. So, what else can we do? What could we do? My guest today has some really great suggestions on how to set ourselves up and really help those relationships at work. Hold on.
And on the show today, we have Susan Ireland, and here is why she is awesome. She's an executive leadership coach and the co-founder principal at Seasoned Leadership, a leadership development consultancy. She's also the founder and principal of her own coaching and consulting business, helping individuals and organizations in their personal and professional excellence. Her background also includes 30 years at Boeing, playing a key role in their original leadership team. Hello, Susan.
A key role in an airplane development leadership team. It's the Boeing company versus a program.
There was leadership involved.
Yeah, just a little bit of a different.
Oh, but it's good to get clarification. I appreciate that immensely. Thank you for that.
Yes.
So thank you for throwing me off immensely with my bio, my very important bio there, Susan. Before we get into anything we're going to get into, which amazingly is going to be about relationships.
Yes.
It is the show. I have a question to ask, which I ask all of my guests, which is, what is your, Susan, best or worst employee experience?
Well, I knew you were going to ask this. And I really, this particular story I'm going to tell you is really pivotal for me. And it was before I was a manager. And I was in an organization called the Program Management Office. And so our role really was overall planning and scheduling and managing and that kind of thing, projects, big projects. And I was assigned to a project that was it was a big project, and it was just me. And I was supporting the senior executives in this project, and they were trying something different. And they said, we want to manage this project like we would an airplane program. And so we want you to do this, Susan, for us. And so they were all, and I just can't emphasize, all senior executives. I was not even a manager yet. They were also all men.
Okay.
So, needless to say, even though I had done this role for other, projects and programs with all different levels of leadership and even senior leadership, but not this like them and me, and this is what they were doing this kind of experiment. And so I was nervous because I thought these guys know way more about this than I do. And, here I am. Who am I to be leading them, and this, whatever. So I was not feeling confident. And, but so the first time we sat down in a room and, it was in like a meeting room where everybody's sitting around the table and I'm standing at the front and I'm just like, oh crap. So and everybody was super nice, but one of the people, the leaders there said, "Susan, you are our leader in this. Lead us."
Hmm.
And the way he said it was very authentic and supportive, and everybody else said, "Yes, and we're here. Tell us what to do." And I don't know what happened, but something in my mind like clicked, like they need me to do this job. They need me to do it well because they don't have the time and space to
Mm.
do this. I know how to do this. I was not confident that I didn't know how to do the job. I know how to do it. And they want me to do it. They're not up here judging me and poking at me for things that maybe I don't know. And, they are there here to make this all work. We all have a goal to achieve and together we'll achieve it. And it was like my anticipation and my anxiety just kind of let go. And okay, let's do this. And then it didn't matter what levels we were and all of that. We just had a work to do and we all did it. So, and I did my job to the best of my ability. And it really was one of the best jobs I ever had because of the leadership examples I had and then the opportunity to step up my game.
Well, that was a story that was pretty quick to mind. I mean, I knew you knew I was going to ask the question, but it was one that came pretty
Yes.
quick to your thoughts. What from that experience have you carried with you? I mean, obviously it's not a recent memory. So obviously it's something that had an impact on you. So how did it influence your leadership after that?
Well, it's to convey to everybody who worked for me or who I worked with that we are all important. There's no jobs that are like extra. Nobody has money for that or time. We hire people for positions because we need that work done. And every job is really important. It doesn't matter what level it is. It needs to be done. And so if people realize that, so if leaders realize that, like whoever these people are, they're important. They're important for the business. They're people. So we need to respect them, but we need to also allow them to do their jobs and give them the tools they need, the support they need, the development opportunities. Sometimes we need to be pushed a little. I was being pushed in that position. I mean, even to get that position was an opportunity. And so it's to realize that, I think, as a leader to people who are working for you, but then also whatever job you have, it could be at any level, to realize you're there to do a job.
I want to give your former boss a bonus point as well, because they demonstrated situational awareness. So
Yeah.
even though you were there to do the job, even though everybody knew their roles, they knew and had the forethought to think maybe they need permission to,
Yes.
right? Just you've got your own thoughts. You're new, you're shiny. Even though you know it's your job, you still needed that permission to understand, no, you're the leader here. You needed to hear the words, and a great
Yeah.
leader figures that out while other ones just assume.
Yeah. That is fantastic, Russell. I love that.
Thank you.
No, that is exactly right.
Stuff rubs off me after 200 episodes.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic.
And this is again about relationships, like your relationship, their relationship with you, how they want that relationship to go. And I know that's what we're going to talk about today, especially when we were pre-chatting, you had brought up an approach, and I want to get to that in a minute because I mean, the name of the show is Relationships at Work. So we've got a bit to mine here. I want to first get into definitions because definitions are so huge because we talk about a lot of things and don't define them. It drives me nuts. So Susan, what is a relationship to you in the workplace? What is that?
Whew. That's a tough one to articulate in a few. A relationship is it's it's an acknowledgement and recognition of another person. It's like seeing another person and having the other person see you and acknowledge and recognize that for whatever reason, we're here together.
I love that. And the reason I have to ask that is, I mean, we feel like we know what a relationship is. Like it's a feeling but to
Yes.
put pen to paper and define what it is, I ask it because we don't know if we're successful in attaining it if we don't know what we're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So I love that definition of it, especially because you were like workshopping it a bit there, which I love because I loved every word you use. So why are they important in the workplace?
Well, every job that I have done has always included other people. I can't say that, I've done anything by myself. It's always in relationship with other people at some way. So the better the relationship, I mean, we don't have to be best friends by any means, but the better the relationship and the more open and curious, the better the work is. So because it's almost like, I feel like for me, the relationships I have actually expand my view and perspective because I have only Susan's view and perspective. It's my world. And, it's pretty small compared to what it could be when I tap into all the people around me. Then it gets bigger and bigger and just more rich, deeper. I get more insight and we can just do better work with that.
And the opportunities that can come from that. And there's just, I feel like if we're not working to build relationships, the work is just living in a silo in a corner in the bottom office. And then you come out and you blink your eyes out and you're like, you come into, and some people like to work that way. I shouldn't, there are a few people I know that are so either introverted or I'm just here to do a job. I just want to do my job. I just want to leave. But even then I talk to them like, so who'd you spend lunch with? Oh, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It's still relationships.
Exactly. And the reason why we do the work is because of relationships. We're delivering something, we're providing a service, something is there. Yeah. And plus, here's the other thing.
Yeah.
And this, I know for me, I tend toward the extrovert side of the spectrum. It's a lot more fun. I mean, life is too short and we spend a lot of time at work. And, we're around all these amazing people and it's just better when I have relationships with people around me.
It's a funny thing what the pandemic did as well. I mean, I was the first one in the pandemic thinking that working from home was going to be, I'm going to use old man language, the bee's knees. Like I thought it was just going to be like the best thing ever. And then I miss those interactions. And I hate looking at the same four walls that come with work, so they've done studies where millennials and Gen Z, I'm Canadian, Gen Z, where they want to go into the office. They want those mentorship opportunities. They want those relationships. And then those same studies find the people that are Gen X want to go home because they have kids. They have other responsibilities where they have to that they have to be responsible for, other relationships. So
Yeah.
it's a funny thing that we're trying to meet in the middle of what a relationship's supposed to look like. Well, what relationships are we really prioritizing in all of this?
Right. 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 It is a complicated it's the world has gotten much more complicated. And I think sometimes it's opening up these questions, which actually I think is really bringing us forward. So I don't remember having these kind of conversations back when I started working. I mean, we didn't think about this stuff. We just, it, you know, I did followed along. This was the path, and get in line. And so I'm glad we're having these types of conversations and people are really thinking about it.
Now, when we chatted, and this the reason I loved having you on was that you're prioritizing your relationships when it comes to your own consulting, when it
Yeah.
comes to attaching it to leadership. And you were describing, I'm like, no, no, stop talking. I want to push a record button around the outside and inside approach to relationship building at work. What are you talking about, Susan?
Well, as a coach, you might have heard this, it's like an inside job, right? We've got to work on ourselves, our self-awareness, understanding our values, you know, t- to be our authentic selves, to really live to our full potential. So coaches spend a lot of time on that. And I think it's absolutely necessary. But sometimes I'm just looking for, like, can I have a hack? And so that's the outside in kind of thing. So if I can just do something and it makes a difference, it kind of, I don't know, keeps the momentum going and gets me encouraged and inspired to keep going and keep working on the inside stuff too, right? So, like a hack, here's a simple hack is that so we're probably much more open to relationships when we feel good. If we're not feeling good about ourselves, we kind of maybe hide. Like maybe I don't want to see somebody, because I'm not really up for it. So as maybe as superficial as this sounds, it's pay attention to your appearance and what you're wearing. It doesn't have to be expensive or the latest fashion or anything like that. But if what you're wearing isn't making you feel good, change, wear something else, wear a brighter color. Or I know, here's the thing that I used to always do. This is an outside in. So I was working in corporate America. And I thought it was super important to look professional. So I had probably 5 or 6 black suits.
Right. That makes sense.
Totally. I don't really look good in black suits. I mean, I was wearing a uniform.
Mhm.
So, and I didn't even see it. And so somebody, told me, mix it up with some color. It's okay to look like Susan and not like everybody else that you think you should be. And it just makes a huge difference. And when I feel better, I mean, I don't even have to say anything. When I feel better, like, yeah, I kind of like this. I look like I look good. And people notice and they say, like, hey, what's different? They may not even notice she doesn't have a black suit on anymore, but there's something about it. It's how I carry myself. I have more confidence. I'm self-assured, and maybe I, speak up in a meeting when I might not have before.
You're almost wearing the confidence.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And it sounds silly. Like people go, really, really? doesn't it depend on like what I contribute and how much I know? And I say, yes, that's true. It absolutely is. You really can't fake it, but you can't, it's how you feel.
Hey, if you're enjoying the insights from our guests, you'll love our Raw Notes newsletter. It's packed with guest takeaways, the resources that inspire them, and my own tips on how we as leaders can be better humans for the humans that we're responsible for. Go to relationshipsatworkshow.com and subscribe now and help the workplace be more human.
So you've coached. So I want to stick with the outside in before we get into the inside out for a bit. So from the outside in approach, what's been an aha moment for you talking to people and coaching leaders that have to look at this possibly as a way of connecting with other people?
What's an aha moment?
Well, if you're coaching people and they may not have seen, like, I can think of some people that I'm like, yeah, it's amazing if they didn't wear jeans, like, or they didn't wear clothes that were probably a little more on the too comfy side.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to have those conversations. I'm assuming you're having those conversations.
Yeah. So really, people are ready at different times, right? And so, and being somebody's coach, I mean, you ask the questions like, how much are you willing to do? Some people aren't willing. And so you just don't go there. You say, okay, that's fine. They have their choice. Other times I'll say like, just try an experiment. Try a new shirt. Try jeans, see what happens. Maybe try colorful scarf. Maybe a new purse. Just a little bit, and you don't have to revamp your whole self. Just a little bit. Just try it and see if you like it. See what happens. And these kind of things can kind of get a momentum. The other thing is there's terrific people out there, image consultants, that this is their job. This is not my job. I don't do that. I need them. But they do a terrific job. And I know one particular, Michael Bruce Consulting, image consulting. He does a great job, and he works with men and women all over the country. And the transformation is wonderful. And the thing about it is about how you feel and how you show up. And it's transformative. It really is. And that's one of the things where it's like builds momentum. So you do something small, you feel good, you change something, you show up differently, you take a class, whatever it is, it's like you start like going on this positive reinforcing loop that's better and better and better and better.
What's the problem that people are coming to you that you feel like an outside in approach? Are they saying, I'm lonely? Because that seems to be one of the biggest challenges in the workplace, especially in leadership, was that they feel so disconnected.
Yes, that is true. That is totally true. I think being a leader today, and maybe always, is very lonely because you don't have anybody really that you feel like you can really confide in. So one of the biggest things I say is, who are your mentors? Who are your confidants? And most of the time people will say, well, I don't have time for that. I'm so busy. I said, you need to talk to people who are experiencing similar challenges as you are, and really feel free to have a good conversation with them. So that's an outside in, to have that is game changing.
And I'm glad you said it. I'm like, that's an outside in. Having a network around you that is supporting you, challenging you in a constructive way. We all need that in the workplace. And a lot of us don't have those teams where we feel like we're at the head as leaders, because I mean, this podcast is for leadership. We're the leaders, so we feel like an other
Right.
than
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Right. It's true. You can't talk to your team or people who work for you about challenges that you're having with them. You know, like I don't know how to delegate, or I don't know how to give feedback, or yeah, I don't know, and to have somebody outside that you can have these candid conversations with to kind of think through something. You can do it with the coach too, but I think it's just really powerful to have somebody who's in the same role as you. It doesn't have to even be in your same company. It could be, in an adjacent company, somebody that maybe that you went to school with or something, uh, but those kind of relationships, we're talking about relationships, those need to be nurtured. To have that kind of trust in somebody, to have those kind of conversations, it takes a little time.
So what kind of advice do you give to someone? I love the idea of looking outside the organization because they don't have the same baggage. They don't know the same gossip. They don't have the same preconceived notions of the
Yeah,
people that you might be bringing up and complaining about.
right.
So
And
definitely
they don't have an agenda.
also true.
So, yeah.
So there are, and I sort of mentioned earlier, there are those introverts. There are those neurodivergent people that don't feel maybe as connected to other people that they're working with.
Yeah.
What advice, how would you coach someone like that that is still feeling that disconnection, wants those mentors? Are they just sending random emails out on LinkedIn? What would you recommend to those people who aren't as extroverted as you and I?
Yeah. It is a hard one, because it's scary. So depends on the position and that kind of thing. So if somebody's a CEO, I'd say, like, go find a group of CEOs or go find a CEO. I mean, they're in that position, even if they are introverted. They've at some level figured this out, how to go and reach out so they can do it. I think somebody who's maybe newer in an organization or newer in their career, it is really scary. And so my advice to those people are, okay, look around you, and then you've seen people, if you've seen them in a meeting or presenting, and there's something about them that you really admire. Maybe they gave a great presentation and the way they speak to a group is something that you really would like to learn how to do more of. So that way, that's an opening that you could send them an email and say, "Hey, I'm Susan. I was at this meeting. I saw you do this and I really admired that, and I'm working on that myself. I'd love to come and talk to you about your experiences and how you learned to do this. I could take you to a coffee, or meet you on Zoom or whatever." But most people I know will make time to meet with a person that says that, because it's genuine, and most people want to help if they at all can.
And people love talking about themselves, so it's really easy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Most people, there are some people that are just too busy or something that just can't. And I know it takes a lot of courage to be able to make that leap and ask somebody, and if they turn you down for whatever reason, I just say, assume they're just too busy, and then just try somebody else.
And honestly, I would say that if the leader is too busy, they may not be as great of a leader to somebody that you may want to mentor for them because they're obviously not very good at boundaries or time management.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you just don't know, but everybody's struggling with something. So, and I think our tendency is to think, oh, it's me. They don't like me or whatever. And really, it's not the case. I can't read everybody's mind, but I just know it's usually not the case.
And it's a lot of timing. It's a lot of some people, as you mentioned earlier, it's the not ready piece. You can reach out and somebody's busy, but right now. So you may be able to
Exactly.
follow up in a couple of months from now, because as to your point, it could be a family thing. It could be vacation. There could be so many other reasons they're not ready to connect with you.
Yeah.
But don't give up on that, because if anything I've noticed with busy people is if you pester them, they appreciate it, actually, if you're not obnoxious about it. But if you
Yeah.
pester them, they're like, thank you for reminding me. I've been so busy under 190 emails. Thank you for following up. I want to do this, but
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. The other thing is a way to meet people is maybe look in your organization or in the community for volunteer opportunities. It's really a good way to meet people in a different context. So you're able to develop those relationships and then build on those then.
I hear a lot about ERGs as well. I
Mhm.
don't think a lot of organizations have them, even because,
Well,
to be honest, I've heard the conversation just from having this podcast and these conversations. I hear about ERGs, but then I reach out to people I know and they're like, oh, no, we never had an employee resource group, or they call it something else,
yeah, they may call it something else.
or they
Yeah.
may call it something else. But that's an opportunity. I mean, there's to find
Yes.
like-minded people that have shared interest and that sort of thing is not it, even if it doesn't exist, maybe it's an opportunity to bring 2 or 3 people together and start one, because I can tell you a lot of organizations with employees that are craving for this kind of connection.
It's true. It is true. Or there's other groups like engineering groups or finance groups, that are with people who are getting together and talking. So it's it's that momentum thing. Start small, do an experiment. Did that work? Good. If it didn't work, try something else. If you start small and then it's easy just to keep adjusting until you find something that does work for you.
And maybe put like reminders in your calendar and stuff like that to
Oh,
do those things. I mean, I can't tell you how many reminders I have in a calendar just to email somebody because you worked with them 3 months ago and you just need to follow up. Like, just little reminders and hacks that you put in your email notification thing. So helpful.
oh, yeah. Russ, you are like speaking my language. I use my calendar for everything. And I definitely put that in so I remember to do it. Okay, we at Seasons Leadership, we have a hack. And this one is, such an easy hack, but it works. And I do it. It's called the relationship matrix. I
Go.
didn't I didn't even talk to you about this before. This is good. So, what it is, it's like an Excel spreadsheet. You can make your own. This is so easy. And what it is just you write down. I actually print mine out and write it down. But, you can do this online too. You have the name of who, like, okay, so I put Russell in there. And then I say, your phone number and your email. And the last time I talked with you, and then like, okay, like we said, we're going to meet monthly or quarterly or, once every 6 months. And so, we make a date, we talk and then we say, okay, let's put it on our calendars. And I say, I'm going to do that. And so you have this list of people that is important for you to keep track of. And here's the thing, you don't put your like mother down there or your brother or your best friend because you're not going to have any trouble. You're not going to lose track of, well, maybe
Depends on your relationship with them. Yeah, everybody's family is a little different.
that's true. But it's people that you're not going to have trouble like keeping the relationship going. These are people that you like and admire and you appreciate them and you enjoy talking to them, but it's not you don't run into them, every day at work, and you have to make an effort to keep the relationship going. So this is it just reminds you like, "Oh, I haven't talked to Julie for like 6 months. I need to reach out to her and schedule because maybe you didn't schedule last time." And it just it is great. And to your point about the bugging busy people, sometimes what I hear is, "Oh, I haven't talked to John for so long. I can't possibly
Mm.
say anything because he's gonna think, why is he calling me now?" And what I always respond to is like, "No, most people are gonna be so happy that you reached out because they haven't either." I mean, life is busy, and you know that feeling of when you go like, "I can't believe how long it's been since I talked to you." And that's just the way it is for everybody. So this just helps keep it going, and people really do appreciate it. The time not to reach out to somebody is if you haven't talked to them, but you need them for a reference for a job.
Mm.
That is, like, not a great time. So, people don't appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, relationships have to be genuine. You actually have to
Yeah.
care about the person, not use that person.
Exactly, exactly.
I love that idea. I've had different forms of that idea in other ways, but now I completely am going to steal that idea and be a little bit more intentional. What I also love of using that relationship matrix is especially around colleagues that may have moved to other organizations. They
Exactly.
may during a reorg, maybe they are in a completely different wing of a larger organization. It's ways that you can keep those relationships alive
Yes.
when you don't see them to your point, every day or on a Zoom or Teams call or whatever it might be. So
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. It really works great.
So we spent a lot of time talking about the outside in,
Yeah.
Susan.
Yeah.
So let's flip a bit into the inside out approach when it comes to relationship hacks.
Okay. Well, I guess in a way, this is the best relationship hack, or no, this is not a hack. This is not a hack. This
Okay.
is an insight.
Okay.
It's to know your own values and to spend time reflecting on them. And I think there's lots of ways you can do this. You can look on the web and you can do, value exercise, and there's a bunch. This is not rocket science. Easy to do, but to do it really with a lot of meaning, you really have to, you know, really do it. And the reason why I think it's important is because our values don't probably change our whole life, right? I mean, our values are our values. But they reprioritize based on the time you are in your life. And so if you don't stay up on that, you could be making decisions based on your outdated priorities. And I'll give you a story. Do we have time for a little
We
story?
absolutely have time for a story.
Okay. So doing this value exercise, when I was at Boeing, I went to a lot of leadership classes and stuff, and this was kind of a standard thing to do. And so I got really good at doing it. I could do it really quick. It's like I do my circle my words and, down select and all of that. And, my top values were safety and security, family, contribution, I think was probably my top 3. So it's important to know that when I was, early on in my career, I was a single parent. I was actually a single parent for like a lot of my career. So makes sense. Safety and security. I had kids that I had to worry about, family and contribution. I wanted to work. I mean, that was part of my safety and security was working. So the kids grow up, they're good. And I was doing a master's in management and I took a elective course in coaching, which I never heard of at the time. And it was great. And, it got me interested in coaching. But one of the things was to do a values exercise. And so I did my exercise, in 5 minutes. And the professor said, "Why don't you do it again?" And I think it took me like most of the quarter. to do this exercise, because then I started really expanding and thinking about it. She said, what was really exciting to you when you were a child? Like, what really got your imagination going? And so I thought, oh, I wanted to be an astronaut and explore space. And, why did I want to do that? You know, and I remember being on the beach as a little girl looking at the stars and feeling that big, like, whoa, that's so big. It's, scary and exciting at the same time. And so I thought, oh, I just kind of circled around. I thought, there's part of me that I have not been paying attention to because I've been very responsible. Which of course I had to be. That was where I was in my life. Safety and security, family and responsibility and all of that was really important things to do because part of my values is, doing that.
Of course.
But the change is now it was later in my career, kind of late career. And I thought, oh, wait a second. The kids are okay. I am safe and secure. I am contributing. Maybe there's space to expand to wonder and awe. And I made that like, oh, that's like my top 2 values. And I knew that I got it right because it's like I got tingly. I said, oh my gosh. And so from that point on, part of my decision making, so whether I was getting a new job or going on a vacation or doing something, I thought, will this bring me wonder and awe? And it kind of changed my course, and it got to a point when it was toward the end of my career, and I thought, oh my gosh, I think it might be time to leave Boeing, which was a little sooner than I thought. But I thought, I think everything is working and I want a chance to do something different because I want to find more wonder and awe in my life. And so I think that I'm really a fan of really understanding your values, because how this ties into a relationship is because knowing your values and being able to articulate them and talk to other people about them and why they are, because everybody's are different, of course. There's no bad values. There's so and so you can talk about them, and it really opens up the space between 2 people or group, and you can support each other and say, hey, I noticed this. And it's just a great way to be.
Thank you for telling that story. 2 things that I'm thinking about this. One, I'm going to challenge you on the relationship hack thing, because as much as I talk about relationships at work, the most important relationship you can have is with yourself. So it is a relationship hack because it's helping you understand yourself better and how you show up and what matters to you. So I would argue it is actually a relationship hack.
There you go.
So, and the other one is, I really appreciate that you talked about the conversations around values. And I don't think we talk about this enough. And I've mentioned it on the show a few times, is that we do these values exercises. And exactly like you explained, it's transactional. You go and you check off your Brene Brown top 5 out of 100 and you're out, right?
Yeah.
And then you keep it to yourself and you're like, yeah, that sounds right. And then you forget them until the next leader training, for those that can't see on air quoting. So the thing is that if we take it seriously, like you did, but then socialize those values, then people can find that connective tissue. People can understand how to communicate with you better because they understand what's important, what motivates you, what you look for out of the job. If you keep them to yourself, how the hell am I going to interact with you? How am I going to build a relationship with you when I don't really know you? And love the idea of really socializing it. And I don't think we do that enough. We talk about values a lot, we put them on posters, we put them on websites, but we don't operationalize it. And I think that's the missing piece for a lot of people.
Yes. You know, another thing is about values, and this is a really good tool. So when we get triggered or pissed off with people or something or a situation, a lot of the time, if not most of the time, it's because either we ourselves or somebody else has trampled on one of our values. And so it's unconscious almost that you just have a reaction. And so then it's helpful to say, I'm having a reaction. The question is, what value was trampled on? And if you can articulate that, then you can talk about it.
And how much compassion can you have if when you actually have that information?
Yeah.
Now I know what I trampled on. Now I see you better as my colleague, as my employee, my employer. And I can see, because to your point, people react and they
Yeah.
don't dig any deeper than the reaction. We have a whole internet filled with people like that.
Yes.
But to actually understand what we stepped on,
Yes.
if only.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. And you think like, oh my goodness, you know, even a lot of times we do this to ourselves. So we're mad really at ourselves because we've violated one of our values, you know, for me, for safety and security. If I did something that put my family at risk, you know, because maybe a poor decision, poor financial decision or something, I'm like, you know, and it's really, I trampled on that value. So before making big decisions, think about, what are my values? Is this decision aligned with them? And sometimes, you know, it's not an easy thing. You got to kind of balance, but yeah.
From the outside in to the inside out. I really appreciate you, Susan, for all these relationship hacks you provided. Even one we had to reframe a little bit there. But let's wrap it up with the last question I always ask, which is, what is one simple action people can do right now to improve their relationships at work?
Okay. This is a good one.
I thought they were all good, but you go ahead.
Yeah. Is ask yourself honestly, how am I showing up?
That is Susan Ireland. She's an executive leadership coach and a co-founder principal at Seasoned Leadership. This flew by. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. Yeah, I love the wrap up there as a little sort of period, done, moving on. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you. That's it. That's all. We are done. Another episode of Relationships at Work, your leadership guide to building workplace connections and avoiding blind spots. I'm Russell, thanking you once again for joining my guest, and digging into how we can improve our relationships in the workplace. Thank you so much for taking the time. How we spend our time is vital in how we want to improve as leaders. So by investing that time in things like this podcast, books, and so forth, we're making it a priority. So thank you for doing that. Anyway, I'll leave it there, and I look forward to talking to you again. Take care.